unemployed. See.
So, and you obviously knew him, Mr. Nkabinde.
Yes, I did.
How did you know him? What was your relationship with him?
I got to know Mr. Nkabinde because he was working at IPIT and he was close to the one investigator within IPIT, Mr. Mahlangu, who was working with him at the time, the late Mr. Mahlangu, who was a brother to a colleague of mine who was working in the police, was a brigadier in the police. So I then eventually got to know Nkabinde through him, and then we became close with Nkabinde as well.
And Nkabinde, did he do any service in the police?
Nkabinde is a former policeman. He left the South African Police Service as a junior member as an investigator and was recruited by IPIT, and he worked at IPIT for many years, and then he left IPIT and he was unemployed after that.
What was his rank in SAPS when he was at SAPS?
I'm not sure exactly, but he was holding a junior rank. I think he was an uncommissioned officer, perhaps between the rank of sergeant and a warrant officer. But I speak under correction. I'm sure if he's invited, he'll be able to give his profile. But he was one of the junior members when he left the service.
And what was the reason that he left SAPS?
I think it was greener pastures to go to IPIT. It was a higher position that he applied for.
So he became an investigator at IPIT. Who headed IPIT at the time?
Mr. Robert McBride was the boss of IPIT at the time.
And what would have been the reason why Mr. Nkabinde left IPIT? Did he leave IPIT? Was he dismissed? What was his reason for leaving?
Honorable Chair and members, I wouldn't necessarily know the details. Perhaps he will elaborate on that. I can only speak about what he told me. Of course, it was not under oath. He was talking to me as a person that was close to. His words to me was that he couldn't stand the wrong that is happening at IPIT. Between his boss, Mr. Robert McBride, together with a famous Paul O'Sullivan, and the current head of IDEC investigation, Advocate Sisoko. He was just not happy with how they were doing business at IPIT at the time.
So he resigned, that seems, according to you, out of frustration.
What I know is that there were issues that he was resigning and they were charging him departmentally. So there was quite a fight between him and management of IPIT at the time.
And in particular, did you mention a fight between him and McBride and Paul O'Sullivan?
Well, I know of Paul O'Sullivan because he was very vocal in the media against Nkabinde. So I don't know about Mr. McBride exactly what was the issue because, well, I never spoke to him. Like I'm saying, I'm taking from what Nkabinde was telling me. Whether is that the fact or not, I do not know. If he comes here and come and explain, and Mr. McBride come and explain, perhaps Mr. Sisoko, Advocate Sisoko comes and explain, they might shed light as to what was the reason and how did they part ways with Nkabinde. But what I know is that there was trouble there that involved him and eventually left him.
And after he left IPIT, was he unemployed for a period or did you assist him in finding another job?
Yeah, well, he was unemployed at the time, so he was just engaging on his own. I couldn't get him a job. I'm a civil servant, so I couldn't afford to, I did not have contacts to help him get a job. But I know that he was unemployed. I just cannot remember the duration, but he was unemployed for some time, up until he received that phone call from the minister to appoint him as a chief of staff, where he shared with me as well.
Now, before his appointment there, you were close friends, did you say?
Well, he was a person that I was acquainted to. I was talking to him more often. He will share a lot of things, especially with regard to the work he was doing at IPIT. So I ended up knowing more about those things. But in terms of his private life, you know, what he does, I know he goes to church. Which church he goes to, I don't know. So I'm not that close to him to get to know those other private part of him. But in terms of the professional side of things, I got to know him. I said I knew him because of his colleague, Mr. Mahlangu, who was working with him. So The relationship between me and him was more of a colleague relationship we had.
Okay. And the meeting that he arranged for you to meet with then Minister of Water and Sanitation, Mchunu, how did that come about? Did you did you know that Kabinde has a relationship, or what was his relationship with Minister Mchunu, then Minister of Water and Sanitation?
Honorable Chair and members, the Senior Counsel is asking me some of the things that is asking are not necessarily in my statement, but I will talk to it because I took an oath, although they are not here, but they can be investigated and proven to be correct. Honorable Chair and members, what the SC is asking me about what Mr. Nkabinde told me about how he got to know the Minister of Police, Mr. Senzo Mchunu. Of course, it's something I'm going to present here, which I still need to establish myself the facts of what he had told me, which I have not finalized it yet. I'm still part of establishing the facts. But the fact is, he and Mr. McBride had flown, they took a flight from Gauteng, and they landed in Durban, and they traveled from Durban to Mbange at the minister's residence. And they went to meet the minister to go and tell him about the criminal investigation that the two of them were busy with at IPID. And it will appear that at the time that the minister might have been implicated on that case. But the two of them had somehow have some working arrangement with the minister. That's what brought the three of them close to each other. That's how the relationship came about. Well, I didn't believe much of what he told me. He mentioned that, and of course I asked, I said, but what type of a case, what is this that we're busy with? And he said there was a death of someone in KZN, and the minister at the time was accused to have interfered with the destruction of an evidence, a crucial evidence that was there. And that led into, because there was a police officers, bodyguards that were involved, that were working with the minister at that time when he was a premier. That led into the involvement of IPID, because IPID will ordinarily investigate cases that involve police. So that's how IPID came involved in that case, because there was a complaint of the police involvement on the wrong. So in their investigation, it led into some degree an act that the premier at the time have done wrong. That's what made them to be close to each other. But as to the reason why they never arrested the premier at the time, I don't have the details of it. As I say, it's part of the things that I'm still making inquiries on, because he had not given me the case number at the time when he was telling me that. He just mentioned that that's how they got to know each other. The relationship started from there. To my surprise is that there is one former chief of staff of the police, of the Minister of Police at the time, who also confirmed the same thing to me recently, not a few weeks ago. He said that Mr. Nkabinde shared the same thing with him. So that made me realize it means the relationship between him and the minister was formed out of an investigation that Nkabinde was doing. That's how they got to know each other. Because at the time, Nkabinde was not a politician, although of late I see him wearing political party t-shirts, but he was not a politician at the time.
And was it at the time that Minister Mchunu was the Minister of Water and Sanitation, or was it at the time that he was the Premier? We know he was the Premier of KZN.
Are you talking about when they got to know each other?
Yeah, this other incident. I think earlier you mentioned the word Premier.
No, I'm saying that the incident,
yes,
allegedly happened at the time when the minister was a premier. But I think the time when Mr. Nkabinde, together with Mr. Robert McBride, according to Nkabinde's words, not mine, when they went to meet with the minister, he was no longer a premier at the time. So I do not know where he was a minister of water or was minister of public service, but he was no longer a premier when they met with him. So that's how the relationship started, the two of them. Otherwise, the minister did not know Nkabinde.